we're going to continue. I think it was like maybe a couple months ago when I started part 1 of this composition challenge, and I tried to, in about an hour, finish a prelude in the style of Bach, in the style of this prelude, which you can see at the bottom there. So this is called a canvas. So this is a canvas which is basically like a study of the piece. It has information that's based on the composition that you use as a template for your own composition. And this is sometimes referred to as model composition. And this is by no means a new way of learning composition. It's actually a very old way of learning composition. And yeah, you can end up with a piece that sounds very similar to the one that you're modeling, but after a bit of experience, you can start to put in your own voice. But I think when you're a new composer, don't try to be too revolutionary. I think it's better to be guided by the past, but guided by especially great composers. And what you tend to find is that great composers over time are doing very similar things to each other, no matter what the style or genre is. You see certain types of repetition. I see lots of what are called parallel periods. If you don't know what a parallel period is, you should really just Google it. Parallel period is such a common way to structure a phrase. It's basically like, structuring a sentence in language. It's in a very set way. Parallel periods are very common, and then certain ways of modulating are very common. Bach uses over and over again the same way, a very similar way for modulating. He'll use the dominant chord of the new key, and he does that in this prelude. He starts in D major, and then he goes to A major here. He kind of does that through the dominant of A major, and then he goes to E minor over here, which he does through the dominant of E minor B7, and then he goes to B minor, which he does through the dominant of F sharp 7. And many composers do this as well. So why not learn the tricks of the trade, and then once you learn them, then you can start bending the rules and going your own way. It's not to say that maybe you can find your own voice without this kind of training. I think it's perfectly possible. But to me, the odds are just about the same as if you gave someone a guitar for the first time and said, what can you do with this guitar? Well, most people have to start at the rudiments, the basics, the fundamentals. They model great players. They listen to great players. It's really hard to skip that, to avoid that. So we want to start from the foundations. And speaking of foundations, the Creative Classical Guitarist, I have on my online school, we've got a course called Foundations, where you actually learn triads, seventh chords, chord substitutions, modulations. What I consider to be the tools of, that if you know these things, you can study, you can analyze, you can understand pretty much every piece of music that's in a classical, common practice harmony sort of style. You'll have the tools to understand those and to compose in that style as well. So Foundations, that's on the Creative Classical Guitarist. You can check that out, creativeclassicalguitarist.com. And we do have courses, we have workshops, we have live sessions where we do things like this. We will study Bach, and we'll look at all these things in detail. What's a pedal bass? What's a repeating arpeggio pattern? Let's compose a repeating arpeggio pattern together. How is this piece structured? What are the modulations? What's compound melody? What other things have we got? Barriolage is mentioned in here somewhere, which is towards the end. What's a barriolage? All these things, all these techniques that we explore together. So it's really fun. But this is the prelude. This is the material that I came up with last time. I think it was a couple months ago. As I said, it's a long gap in between. You never know. Hopefully you wouldn't know. I know some composers, they might do this too. They'll start a piece, and then a year later or 2 years later, they'll finish it. And you wouldn't know, because music is outside of time in a way. It's not, you wouldn't really, you can just stop at bar, what are we here? Stop at bar 20, and then 2 months later, bar 21, and no one will hopefully know. So what I'll do first is I'll play what I've got so far, and then we'll continue. So we have. There's our introduction, our beginning introduction. Okay, that's where we're ending. Wow, yeah, I'm actually quite pleased with that. It does sound, a bit like Bach. It's a bit, what do you say, derivative. It is derivative of Bach, I'll admit. There are some places where it's a little bit maybe modern sounding, but yeah, that's the goal. I am in some ways trying to emulate Bach and how he composes, following his harmonic progressions, but just doing different things. And yeah, so basically I've divided this prelude into 3 parts. A beginning, which is almost up to where I played a little bit, couple extra measures up to this fermata in the original, up to there, and then we get what I call a middle. We've got a lot more scale passages. The beginning has a lot more arpeggios in it, and it's got this motive, which you don't hear in the middle section. And then we get the end section, or where's the end? We have an end section, or a finale, I guess. We have a finale here. I thought I had an ending section as well. I thought that was here. It's not written here, so I'm going to write it in. Finale, so I'm going to write here, I'm going to write end. So we get another kind of clue that it's something a little bit different. So I'm going to write that in end. And then we had a finale, it was like the end, ending with a bang, right? This bit. Those 4 measures there. Just like we have a beginning section, but we sort of have a 4-bar, it's almost like a 4-bar intro. And I might actually write that. I want to make these distinctions. Beginning, and then let's write also intro. Intro, 4 bars. Right, this way of structuring can be very useful, especially if you're newer to composition. I think if you're experienced at composition, it can still be very helpful too. Don't get me wrong about that, but if you're experienced with composition, you can probably do these things more intuitively. These aspects of composition are probably more intuitive to you. But if you're new to composition, then they probably won't be so intuitive, and you'll have like some nice ideas, and then you'll think, well, how do I structure that into a whole piece? And that's where this kind of level of detail really helps, because then once the structure is laid down, you just put the bricks in, right? You just lay the material down. You just lay the notes in, and you know, you have such a clear guide with this framework, and you can always depart from it. It's not to say you have to be stuck with this exact plan that's in front of you. You can always change. That's the beauty of art. I don't know if you're building a house, if you can do that, you know, like you think, I want to just change this now, you know. I don't know if it's that easy. I think once you have the blueprints for a house, you have to kind of stick to it. Or if you do want to change things, it'll be quite a process to do that. But if you're building a composition, you can just, at any moment, you can just say, I don't like this, I'll go in this direction, or I'll delete that and redo it. Or, you know, that's art. It's a very spontaneous, it can be a very spontaneous thing, but it can also be balanced with this degree of planning. So yeah, let's continue here. So we're almost at the end of the beginning. So the end of the beginning. So we have Bach's music right below, which is nice. We can refer to it as the model, especially if we're a bit stuck. But so Bach does this. So kind of repeating arpeggio pattern with the descending bass, G sharp chromatic bass, G sharp to G natural again. It ends on a very unstable chord, A7 in third inversion with the G in the bass, this one. So he's ending that with a lot of tension. It's very questioning, right? And then we go to the scale passages. So let's do something similar. Let's use some arpeggios. Very ingenious arpeggio that Bach's doing, because he's almost echoing himself, right? You get this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then these three notes echo those notes there. Very nice, very clever. Of course, Bach. So we'll come up with something similar in terms of arpeggios, but it could be also quite different as well. So this is where, you know, improvisation and inspiration come into play now, where we're just going to use improvisation and intuition and inspiration to try and come up with an idea. I'll borrow Bach's idea of echoing himself a little bit. So I don't know if that's too similar. Maybe it's too similar. I'm kind of hearing something a bit higher. Maybe I'll change it a little bit. I can't help it. Okay. By the way, I just want to mention I use OBS. It's a program that I use for streaming, and I did install an update recently, and lately it has just been crashing. So sometimes randomly. So if I just disappear. That's just the reason. Okay. So I'm kind of going a bit more. because I want to put that in the bass. Keep that G sharp going in the bass there. Maybe I'll put an E in the bass there just to fill up the texture a little bit. Now we're going to go to a G natural next. Okay. Sometimes you need to think about where you're going next a little bit, you know? I find it quite challenging to do this chromatic thing, G sharp to G natural, but I'll try and figure something out. Now that's a tritone I just did there. C sharp to G in the in the melody. It's not the nicest. Oh yeah, no, I don't like that. Too much E minor there. Oh, this is a tricky spot. And the thing is, Bach is using a very similar, you know, it's basically the same arpeggio, just with a different, very similar kind of shape. He's doing the echo effect and everything. So, maybe the tritone's okay. Okay, let's just try it. So I'm going to basically copy that and paste it in, and natural, G natural. I mean, Bach does a bit more variety than that. I'll just take everything down a little bit. Really going off the beaten path here a little bit. Kind of want this. I want to put in a nice modern chord. That'll fit. Something like that, maybe. Try it. I like that. Maybe we can echo that. Look at that, it lines up pretty much perfectly with the fermata there. Copy that. Save, always save your work. Okay, let me put that together from here. Okay, I like it. I don't know if it'll fit with everything else, but I'm just gonna keep going and see what happens. Hello Jim in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat there anytime about composing. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go into quite a different, like I want to use some scale passages. Something like that. There. So one of the other features of this middle section is that Bach is using a pedal A, a dominant pedal, pretty much until the very end, until the final chord. So he's prolonging the dominant, which holds a lot of tension in this middle section. It like keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time, you're sort of just waiting for the resolution. But instead it just keeps going and building and developing. Okay, so we're going to A. Something else that Bach does is you've got a bit of chromaticism, and he'll occasionally throw in some compound melody. There's another term that we do explore on the Creative Classical Guitarist. Compound melody is where a single line suggests multiple lines, basically. So that's too similar to Bach. Notice too the rhythm is called moto perpetuo, perpetual motions, just constant 16th notes. Yeah. Bach goes a bit crazy. Chromaticism. So I'm going to try do a bit of chromaticism. I'll just check if we have any questions. No questions so far. Okay. Chromaticism. Okay, this is where I'm going to do a bit of compound melody. You'll see what I mean, hopefully. I don't quite know where we're going next, but I feel like it's going to go. Yeah. Oops. Oops. I'm just crafting like scale passage melodies, you know, thinking about compound melody, thinking about what Bach's doing a bit with the chromaticism, and often maybe going against what he's doing in terms of the shape. When he's going down, I'll try and go up, just so that I'm not sounding too similar to what Bach's doing. I'm just using improvisation right now, primarily. Good. So I said that I was using compound melody earlier. So what do I mean by that? Here we have a single line, but it's implying two lines. We have that, and then we've got that. So then we get that. It's a really nice effect. It's very useful if you're writing for a stringed instrument, you know, cello or violin, and you don't have as many options with chords and adding accompaniment bass notes and things like that. Now Bach does start to use some more arpeggios, so maybe I'll do some arpeggios as well. Oops, I missed a note. Hopefully I can do this. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So I'm kind of repeating that pattern, but just changing that to a G sharp, that A, to kind of match that harmony that Bach's getting. So just put bass there, and I'll put the bass there. Okay. I kind of want to keep this going. Something like that. It's basically the same as that little chunk. I'm just ignoring the harmony completely at this point. It's supposed to be E7, but I'm doing something a little different. Why not? Why not? It's like a G major 7. Oh, I like that. I feel like keeping this going, this kind of pattern. I feel like a diminished chord might be nice, yeah? Add a bit of tension. And then I think I'll have to end there, so okay. Okay, something like that. Oh, I kind of like that. And then we'll have to do the end next time, because I have to head off. So yeah, so we'll probably do this in 3 parts. I'm fairly confident I can get the last section done in one more session. So I'm going to play, firstly I'm going to play what I wrote now today, and then I'll play, actually I'm just going to play through the whole thing because it'll take a couple minutes to get through. Okay, so here we go. How often do you You see a lot of these videos that are like, inside, like how someone, hey, Gelb, thanks for joining. You see a lot of these videos that are like, here's what I did, right? Here's what I did, how I did it. But what you saw was me doing it on the spot. And I mean, sometimes it can be a bit slow, right? You see me like literally figuring things out, but hopefully it's somewhat interesting to see that the process of someone doing it on the spot, not this is how I did it, this is what I did in the past, you know what I mean? So here we go. Start to wrap up with the ending section. Wow, I mean, it feels really nice to play. I don't know, what did you think? Let me know what you thought in the comments here, whether we're live or whether you're watching this as a replay. What do you reckon? Anything you recommend? Anything you'd want me to change there? This is what we often do when we compose as a group. I'll get people to play little bits, and we'll ask what people think and tweak things, and it's really fun. But I have to say, it feels really nice to play that, and I kind of like this. I mean, it sounds like a little different here with these more modern harmonies, but it does help to kind of take it away from Bach a little bit more. I don't want it to sound too much like Bach, but I still want to follow his guidance. This is like, the way I like to think of this is, it's almost like as close as we can get to sitting down next to Bach and saying, how would you compose, Mr. Bach? How would you do it? And sitting down, it's like his music's right there, and just it's as close as we can get, I think, now today. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and stay tuned for part 3. I don't know when it'll be, if it'll be in another 2 months. I'll try and make it sooner rather than later. So yeah, got to head off now. We have a session now devoted to looking at a method book by Mario Rodriguez Arenas. We're looking at rhythms. It's really fun. He kind of formalized Tárrega's teachings into 7 method books, 7 volumes. So we're looking at volume 1 right now on the Creative Classical Guitar. So I've got to head off to that session. See you next time.